Hi there, travel lovers. This is your trusted cruise and Tauck tour and safari expert, Shawn Power here. I wanted to go ahead today and answer a question that I get all the time from my personal clients. I've also had strangers on the street asking me when I tell them what I do for a living. And what the question always is, when should I book my cruise? When should I book my Tauck land tour? People always want to know how early do they got to book, and really they're asking, can I book last minute and still get a good deal and stuff. So like I said, it's a common question, so I wanted to go ahead and address it today. So the rule of thumb I tell people is when you know you're going to do a trip, sincerely just go ahead and book it. There's almost no reason not to. Now, there's some companies out there, like I do a lot of business with Tauck, like 40% of my business is with Tauck. And if you book a Tauck trip, there's non-refundable deposits. So you don't want to just book on a whim. And really most cruise lines these days have, better deals if you do a non-refundable deposit, or they have at least some penalty if you cancel. So the point is, I'm not saying to book if you really don't have a clue, but if you know that you're going to go on a trip, there's almost no reason not to book right away. Because when you book right away, you're pretty much locking in the lowest price. There's some exceptions I'll talk about at the end of this video, but for the most part, you're locking in the lowest price. So let's say it's 2 years from your cruise, a year and a half from your cruise, and you're like, I know I want to do that cruise. Just book it. You're going to lock the price in that day, and you're going to get the room you want, because a lot of people wait later, they just don't get the room they want. And that's one of the most frustrating things for people. So basically, book right away, because let's say you book today, it's a year and a half from the cruise, and your final payment's 4 months out. Well, if at any time between now and final payment the price drops, we can get you the better price. I do that for my clients often. I'm sure if you work with your own travel agent, that's happened. Now, if you happen to work directly with the cruise line, you're going to have to keep an eye on your price. You're going to have to call them when you see price changes. No one's going to be looking at that for you. But, like I said, myself, I'm sure lots of travel agents do it. They keep an eye on lower prices for their clients. So the point is that it's very rare that there's going to be any downfall to booking early, and you're going to lock in the date you want. You're also going to, like I said, lock in the room you want. Also, for someone like me, I collect a lot of airline points, and I get a lot of free flights. And in my experience, you need to book those flights early. So like, let's say an airline drops their schedule about 11 months before you fly. Well, for a lot of these points, for people who want to use points, if you don't book them like the day they come out or within a couple of days, you're just not going to get those. So a lot of people think, oh, I've got millions of points, I collect points on cards, but they don't realize you got to book early. But it doesn't make sense to book your flight without having your cruise or your Tauck tour booked. So again, book early for so many reasons: to lock in the price, to lock in the date, to lock in the room, to get a good deal on airfare, especially if you're using points. Also, it depends on the company you're going with as well. So like I said, someone like, Tauck, they never drop their prices. Like, anyone who's traveled with Tauck knows their price is their price. They're almost like Apple. Everyone pays the same for an iPhone. Everyone pays the same for a MacBook or whatnot. There is no, this week it's 2 for 1. Next week it's $1,000 off. It's just always the same price. So whether you're the first to book or the last to book, you're going to pay the same price. So people who travel with Tauck, they know they just want to book immediately because there's no sense of waiting. The price will never drop. And they know that it's going to be sold out usually at least a year or so in advance. So someone like Tauck, they sell out extremely early. You've got to book very, very early. Another example is I sell a lot of AMA Waterways river cruises in Africa. So it's a 4-night river cruise plus a safari, plus you go to Johannesburg, you end up in Cape Town. It's a full trip, Victoria Falls. There's 14 rooms on that ship, 1-4, so 28 people. That usually I see dates that sell out within a day or two of opening. So like right now it's June 25. Just last week they released prices for 27. We already have sold out dates. That's 2 years from now. Because again, there's 14 rooms. So, let your travel agent, or let me know if I'm your travel agent, or, whoever you're working with, let them know what trip you're looking at specifically well in advance, because they're going to know when you need to book it. Like, I know that you need to book that AMA river cruise in Africa 2 years out. So I will absolutely get you booked immediately as soon as it comes out. There's certain Tauck trips. If you're going to go to Tauck, if you're going to go to Japan with Tauck, especially during cherry blossom season, they sell out immediately. If you want a Tauck small ship cruise on Penant, where there's only maybe 15 suites, I know if you want a bigger room, if you don't book one of those within a month or two of opening up, you're just not going to get one. So like I said, anyone who's in this industry who does it, as a full-time, thing as I do, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've booked almost $100 million in travel. I know the trends. Just let your agent know, and they're going to know when you should book. So like I said, some things specifically, you've absolutely got to book early. But the rule of thumb is book everything early. There's almost no reason not to. Antarctica is another good one. I remember Antarctica, or another good example, I should say. I remember trying to get on Tauck one time a year and a half in advance to go to Antarctica, and I couldn't get on. It just sells out so early because they only have like 40. I can't remember if it's 40 or 80 spots when I went with them, but they only block so much space is the point. So very, very limited. Australia and New Zealand, that sells out as well very early. Egypt, a lot of years, depending on the political environment, if it's kind of a popular destination at the time or not. So like I said, for the most part, when it comes to your Tauck land tours, your cruises, and I'm talking like it could be Carnival, Royal Caribbean, whatever you book. I don't really work with those companies these days, but even those, I do join my family and friends on them sometimes, and I know they book early, and we just see the prices go up and up. So we might book those 2 years in advance. We take a family trip together with friends and everything, and someone will book 6 months after us, and they'll pay like hundreds of dollars more. So again, even the biggest ships you want to book early, they get the best price. So that's the rule of thumb: book early. It's not a sales pitch; it's just the way it is. And especially right now in June 25, you wouldn't believe how much 26 is already sold out in river cruises, in some of the most popular land tours, and a lot of the luxury small ships. I mean, I've seen more than ever booking up faster than ever these days. So definitely book early. Now, is there any exceptions to the rule? Of course. As a travel agent myself, who works with quite a big company who does hundreds of millions of dollars in business, and we're part of even a bigger company that does billions of dollars. Well, now and then the cruise lines will come to us, and they may give us some last minute deals. And I'm talking sometimes these might be like 30, 40, 50% off. These are unpublished. We cannot advertise them because they don't want people who've already booked to know that they're selling these last minute rooms, but they're so random. So absolutely, if you're like, okay, I just want to do a trip, I don't care where I go, I'm just looking for a deal, sure, get a hold of myself, or hopefully your travel agent has the same kind of access to deals like that. But the point is, there's always things like that, but it's very random. You don't know where you're going, you don't know what rooms are left, and also you're almost going to always pay more for airfare. So I think it was 2 days ago, I booked a 50% off river cruise for someone I think it was the Danube River in August, so 2 months from now. For sure, they paid hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of more for their airfare than they would have if they booked their airfare 9 months ago. Now, don't get me wrong, if the cruise was $5,000 a person, instead of $10,000 or whatnot, obviously it's still a good deal. But the point is that you can't get both. You're not going to get like a good airfare deal usually, and a great last minute deal on a cruise or a Tauck. Well, you're not going to get a deal on the Tauck land tour anyway. But the point is that there's always pros and cons. Also, be careful if you go to book a last minute trip. Make sure your passport is valid for at least 6 months after your trip ends. So let's say you're taking a trip that finishes on August 31st. September, October, November, December, January, February. Make sure your passport's good till at least March the following year. So don't be that person who says, I want a great last minute deal, and you book your airfare, you book your 50% off cruise, and you forget to tell your travel agent or the cruise line that your passport expires in 3 months from now, and your trip is in 60 days, and there's almost no time to renew it. So again, be careful with these last minute bookings to make sure all your documents in order, because you don't want to, it's not a good deal if you get half price and you can't go because you can't get on the plane because your passport's not valid long enough. So anyway, that's a quick summary of that question. Again, a question I get all the time from people: when should I book? And truly, 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 like I said, it's not a sales pitch. Book immediately, especially if it's an epic trip for a birthday, an anniversary, or especially if you're going as a group. I've done that so many times with my friends and family where 12, 14, 16, 20 of us go. You never want to try to plan these things last minute. I book most of my trips a year and a half, if not longer in advance. Many of my clients do, very common. There's no downfall because you're locking in that price, locking in the date, locking in the room, and then you're not gonna be disappointed with getting the vacation that you want. So anyway, hopefully that helped today. Hopefully it answered that question. Any more questions about it, leave me a comment or send me a message on my site, and I'd be glad to help. Beyond that, I'll see you in the next video, and have a great day. Bye bye.